Today we are talking not only about saving money by doing some preventative maintenance to your car, but also learning maybe when it's time to really go get it checked out. So we have a guest speaker here today. This is John Blanton. He owns his own auto repair shop here in Denton, so he's going to give you lots of great information, things to look for, and when to know, maybe when to throw in the towel and start thinking about looking at buying a new car or a new-to-you car. So please give him a round of applause. And I'll let him take it away.
As she said, my name is John Blanton. I have been a mechanic for 30 years. I have been ASE certified, and ASE means American Service Excellence. They provide a test for mechanics to make sure that they are knowledgeable in the subject area that they're working on. That didn't actually start until I've been a mechanic for about 5 to 8 years, so I've actually been doing it longer than ASE's been around. But anyway, what we're going to talk about today is I want to talk to you a little bit about some in-car maintenance tips, but I'm also going to give you and educate you all on basically what happens when you go to the automobile repair shop. Some of the things that I kind of get concerned about is when service advisors are talking to you about your car, they're spilling out a lot of technical jargon, stuff you really don't understand. And then they say, okay, do you have any questions? And people stand there and look at them like deer in the headlights. It's not that you don't have questions, you just don't know what to ask, all right? So hopefully by the end of the day, you're going to know what to ask, okay, and how to find out what's going on. Okay, so 89% of the money spent on car repairs in 2015 was because of lack of maintenance. And basically what that means is people aren't getting their oil changed enough. There's a lot of commercials out there that talk about you can go 5,000 to 10,000 miles on your oil changes and stuff like that. That's absolutely wrong. The reason they do that is for a couple of reasons. One, they want to sell you synthetic oil, which they claim can go higher mileage. And there's three things that the oil does, okay? It cleans, cools, and lubricates the engine, okay? As your engine circulates, as the piston moves up inside the cylinder, okay, the oil coats the inside of the cylinder. Then as it moves back down, it pulls that oil, some of it stays up in the top of the cylinder. And then what happens is the piston comes back up and it pushes that oil into the fuel so it gets burned. Your oil gets burned through your exhaust. It's typical to burn between a half quart and a quart of oil every 3,000 miles. So if you're going 6, 7, 8,000 miles on your oil change, you're going to burn 2 to 3 quarts of oil. Your gauge only holds 5 quarts. So if you're getting down to 2 or 3 quarts, you're going to start losing oil and you're going to lose oil pressure and it's going to be very bad for your engine. The other thing it does, like I said, is lubricate. So every time your piston moves up and down, also fuel is sprayed into the cylinder. Fuel is what they call washing down the oil. The oil will basically become thin, so it no longer lubricates as well. Okay? And the other thing it does is it gets dirty. It's designed to clean contaminants away from the engine, carbon, and stuff like that. It gets picked up in the oil filter and removed. I've never seen an oil, no matter how good it is, change its own oil filter. Can't do it, okay? So remember, every 3,000 miles. Now it doesn't have to be exactly 3,000. You can go 3,200, 3,500, maybe if you do all highway driving stuff, but really don't want to go much over that. So follow your car's maintenance schedule, okay? In your owner's manual, you give them there's a maintenance schedule in the back of your owner's manual. There should be. If there's not, you can always find these online, okay? Typically, things that need to be maintenance are your oil change regulators we talked about, your timing belts. If you have a timing belt, some cars have timing chains, which never need to be maintenance. So when you're buying a car, you may want to ask, does it have a timing belt or does it have a timing chain? Because again, timing belts can run in the neighborhood of about $600 to $1,000 to replace a timing belt. Timing chains should never be maintenance, okay? Unless there's actually something that breaks in there, which is rare, okay? The only time something would break in there is if you're doing what? Not changing your oil, okay? Some things we talked about is your tires. Of course, you get better fuel economy by airing up your tires, making sure that they're at level. In 2006, the government mandated tire pressure monitoring systems. You all probably seen those before, the little symbol on your dash that shows a low tire. But what that's telling you is that one of your tires has low pressure. Typically, these systems are set at 36 psi. If any one tire drops below 4 psi from another one, it's going to turn that light on. And that can happen just with ambient air temperature change. So like here in Texas, you get at night, you air up your tires hot in the evening, stuff, you air up your tires. Next morning you come out and the tire monitor lights on and you say, well, I just filled it up. What's going on? Do I have a leak? Not necessarily. When the temperature gets cold in the morning, your tire pressure is condensed, and it can actually condense enough to where you might have one tire that was actually at 38 pounds, the other tire was at 36, 35, and then they condense, and then they get the 4 psi out of range from each other. It's going to turn that light on. Yes.
When it gets cold out and it doesn't condense, is it wise to add air
You want to fill up your tires, good question. You want to fill up your tires when it's cold. Okay, so the cold part of the day. It can expand, that's fine, but it's convincing you want to do it when it's cold. The other thing you want to do when it's cold, and speaking of that, is fill your car up when it's cold. The reason is because the gas in the ground is going to be colder, so it's going to be denser. And then you're going to get more bang for your buck when you're buying your gas. So you're going to get better gas mileage when you fill your car up when it's cold. Usually I like to do mine early in the morning when it's cold, or even like 1 or 2 in the morning if I'm up, every time. But if you're not up that early, if you're up around 5, 6 o'clock in the morning and you're going to get gas, I do it. I try to avoid at all costs getting gas in the middle of the day or the heat of the day, because the gas is going to expand and your gas mileage is actually going to be worse. Now we're going to talk about preparing for roadside emergencies and how to find a trustworthy mechanic. We talked a little bit about that. We talked about your maintenance schedule.
For the tire, do you fill up to the maximum PSI?
Yeah, I go, now the tire manufacturers give a PSI on the side of the tire. They'll actually say maximum PSI. So yeah, good question. I'd go with that. Now the car also has a PSI rating on it. But I don't go with the car because the manufacturer of the car didn't make the tires they're putting on. Okay, so I go with the person who made the tires in that case. Good question. And anyway, so like I said, fluid changes and stuff like that. I want to tell you guys, most of these fluid changes, the brake, the coolant, engine, power steering, engine's just going to be oil, power steering, transmission. These things should be done as preventive maintenance. These fluids get dirty. They don't get dirty from contaminants outside the car. They get dirty from the contaminants already in the system. So rubber hoses and things. The inside, these fluids will tend to deteriorate the inside of these hoses. And will cause those little particles to get in there, and then those little particles work their way into the seals that keep the fluid from coming out when the rack and pinion is moving. Rack and pinion, by the way, is what turns your steering wheel from side to side. When you turn your steering wheel, it goes to rack and pinion and moves the wheel side to side. Yes, ma'am.
Just one question. Earlier I went to a maintenance thing with Honda, and they said my car was making a sort of a rattling noise. Not a terrible rattling noise, but they listened to it and they said that the valves needed to be tightened.
On Hondas, there are some Hondas that there's a technical service bulletin out on Hondas that they do have to be readjusted sometimes, especially after they've been run for a while. The metal heats up, and again, with everything with heat and cold, it expands and contracts. And after a little while, you have to go back into Hondas and readjust the valves. That doesn't happen on every car. That's just that particular car.
So they said come back in 100,000 miles, which I will. But after that, should I keep coming back like in 200,000 miles?
No, not necessarily, because eventually it's going to stop. The metal's going to expand and contract so many times that it's just going to get to the point where it's just where it is. 100,000 miles, you should be fine. And like I said, you don't have to go to a Honda dealer. Independents can do it as well. So if you find anything that'll do it cheaper, you're more than welcome to go there. I have worked at dealerships. I've worked at independents. I don't own anything now, but I've also worked at auctions, and I've noticed that a lot of dealerships will hire technicians that are basically new to the industry because they're like everybody else. They're trying to save as much money as possible, make the bottom line look the best, so they hire technicians that they don't have to pay as much to do the job. So you don't always find your best technicians at dealerships.
But they give warranty, right?
Huh?
They give warranty, right? They have warranty?
Yeah, they have warranty. So if you have a 30 or 36,000 mile warranty, that's covered bumper bumper. That does have to go back to your dealer. But if you have an extended warranty, like if you buy an extended warranty with your car, you don't have to. You can go to an independent. Like a lot of independents, like myself, if you bring me your car, I can save you the deductible. Usually those, aftermarket warranties carry a $100 deductible or something like that. I can usually get the work done and save you that $100 deductible. It doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. Air filters are real important. Okay. One of the things I really hate is, I don't know if you ever heard of the K&N air filter. People put these hot rod air filters on there, and that they say you don't have to change them. But the problem with those is they never clean them. Okay, and if you don't clean them, they get dirty and clogged up, and the engine can't breathe, and it's worse. So I just say stick with what comes in your car, and just buy a new one. They're like $10, $12. They're not expensive. You just change them out every so often, and that'll keep your car breathing healthy, and that'll keep the engine running much better. So overall, stay away from doing any modifications on your car. It used to be okay, back in the day when you had carburetors and you had new muscle cars and all stuff, but anybody's car in here has at least 12 computers in it, if not more. And all these computers are designed to do is to keep your car running at optimal speed, optimal performance for the life of the car. Anytime you tweak it or anytime you change the timing on a computer, what you're going to do is there's always a trade-off. Everything has a cost. So if you change the computer settings, and you can make them faster, but you're gonna trade engine life for it. It's gonna wear out your engine much, much faster because you're putting higher compression ratios on everything. So don't do that. If somebody tries to sell you stuff, don't. You know, these I call them snake oil salesmen, you know, that they sell this little thing you put in there and it makes the air spin, tornado thing that goes in your intake. Total piece of junk. All it does is get in the way and mess things up. Don't do it. So like I said, the things that they're doing nowadays are very, very good for the engine. They're meant to last you as long as possible. Okay? Belts, like I said, we talked about belts versus chains. Hoses, where you start seeing your hoses get swollen and stuff, then it's time to change them. But typically, that's something you kind of look at, and they don't wear out. So they're about every maybe 60 to 80,000 miles. So it's not something you want to do on a regular basis, if that long, you know. Now, tire wear, as we talked about earlier, is an indication of how your shocks and stuff, how your shocks are wearing. So if you get a lot of cupping, sometimes you might hear a lot of road noise. You're going down the road and it just sounds like that kind of thing. That might not be, it may be a bearing, but it can also just be tires that are cupped and choppy. And that kind of wear comes from worn out shocks, okay? So if you're not having any of that chopping and cupping and this like that, and somebody comes up to you and says, oh, you need shocks, you go, why? You know, my tires look fine, and you know, there's a bounce test you can do. You push your car down and let it up, it should come up and stop. Okay, if it goes like a dolphin, like you're riding a dolphin and going down the street, then you need shocks. You know, but if you're not having any of that, I mean, my car's a 2005. I got original shocks, and it's got 119,000 miles on it. And because I mean, they're not supposed to last but 25,000 miles, but they still work. So I'm not going to change them until I have to. You know, so don't let these slick salesmen try to tell you, oh, you need shocks just because it's been 25,000 miles. You need shocks when they're broken. Okay, that's it. We talked about getting your oil changed. I want to talk one thing about oil change. You guys want to remember this. When you change your oil, it's not important what brand you use, okay? Branding is not important. All oils are good oil. Pennzoil, Quaker State, Castor Oil, even the house brands are fine. All the oil starts in the same place, right? The difference in oils is the detergents that they use to refine the oils, okay? When you mix oils, you're mixing detergents, and when those detergents mix, that's what causes oil leaks, okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. In order to make from crude oil, basic raw oil, they have to cut it, they have to process it. So they use chemicals to do that, which we call detergents. They clean it, process it, use different stuff to it. And by doing that, like I said, they produce their oils. But when you mix Pennzoil with Valvoline, you're mixing, the oil's the same, but the detergents that they use to process it aren't. So you're mixing those two detergents and they react with each other to cause like an acidity effect, which eats away at your gaskets. So most oil leaks are caused by mixing of the oils.
Stick with one.
Stick with one brand. Usually if you buy a new car, ask the dealer, what oil did they put in this car when I bought it, and stick with that. If you buy a used car, you're obviously not going to know what oil's in it. But start from that point, pick a brand you don't really care, and stick with that. Okay? So where you go, make sure if they have Valvoline. If you use Valvoline, we use Valvoline all the time.
Should I ask a question later or should I ask you?
No, go ahead.
So in the beginning you said you should not use synthetic oil. You can use synthetic oil?
Yeah, I was getting ready to talk about synthetic oil, okay? Synthetic oil is a big myth, okay?
Really?
It's a marketing gimmick, okay? Here's the difference between synthetic oil and conventional oil. Temperature range. Synthetic oil has a much higher temperature range. In other words, it can withstand much higher temperature than conventional oil, okay? The only thing is that there's not a passenger vehicle out there that gets near the temperature range of a conventional oil, okay? The only time that the synthetic comes into play is in those big 18-wheeler diesel trucks that are carrying thousands of pounds. Those engines get that high. Your car will never get that high, okay? But here's the trick. Have you ever heard synthetic blend? Synthetic blend oil takes 30% synthetic and 70% conventional oil, mixes them, and thereby you get the temperature range of the synthetic but the price of conventional. Okay? So a synthetic blend is every bit as good as synthetic, you know.
But they say you can change 15,000 miles or 1 year.
I'm sorry?
They say the duration, the frequency change if you use synthetic oil,
That's a
15,000
lie.
miles or 1 year.
That's a lie. First of all, they're not going to buy you a new car when it 4 years breaks down. I've got tons of pictures of people whose engines have just been destroyed because they have, why don't we use synthetic? Well, how often did you change it? Every 15,000 miles. Well, that's why. you know? It doesn't matter how good they say the oil is. It can't, like I said, it can't clean itself, it can't prevent washing down the oil, which when the fuel mixes in with it, it is thinner, and it can't clean itself, and it can't prevent itself from burning off, you know. And as it burns off, and that carbon builds up, that's where you start getting sludge build up and other things. And that sludge will get into your rings, which go around the piston to create compression. And those rings get seized in the piston, next thing you know, you get blow by. So that, I hate it when they say you can go 15,000 miles. It's a complete lie.
The 3 months is the maximum period?
Now, they say 3 months, but I kind of go just based on mileage. If we lived in a climate where the temperatures were extremely changing on a daily basis, the reason they say 3 months is because what else happens inside an engine is condensation. So, you know, just like dew hits the grass, you know, condensation builds up in your engine. So they want every 3 months because they're afraid you're getting too much condensation in your engine, creating a water and oil effect. But like I say, in Texas here, it's really not that big a deal. If you lived up north more, you know, I would say, yeah, probably go every 3 months. But down here, I mean, we're Texas. I mean, come on, we drive 3,000 miles, you know, going one way to school. You know, it's like, you know, that's crazy. But
One last question regarding the IHN. Sorry, I thought the question asked you.
no problem. Okay. So anyway, just remember that. And there's a myth out there too that says that you can't, you guys, when you go to synthetic, you can't come back.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Not true.
Not true?
Absolutely not true.
Okay.
The way that synthetic came about, you guys might not know this, but in the 70s, there was an oil embargo. Okay? I don't know if you studied this in school or if anybody here is old enough to date themselves now. But OPEC is the oil producing country of the world, decided to raise the price of a barrel of oil to over $40 a barrel in the 70s. Okay? Well, this put a big crunch on things. So as Americans, we said, okay, well, we're going to show you. So we built 2 synthetic oil refineries that can produce oil that is artificial. Synthetic means artificial. So, but it was meant to be as close to oil as possible. And it is. It's very close. But we can produce it at $40 a barrel. They were selling it to us at $45. Well, when we can produce it, it costs us like $14 billion to build one plant. Okay? So, and then remember, this is 70, so that was it's a lot of money now, but it's even more money then, right? So they decided that if we could produce it at 40, OPEC came back and said, oh, wait, if they're producing their own oil, then they're not going to buy ours. So they lowered their price to make it to where we were buying it like $16 a barrel. So then everybody said, well, why should we build these plants to make oil at $40 a barrel when we can buy it for $16 a barrel? So we only made 2 plants. We would have needed 9 plants to meet our needs in the U.S. We could have done it, but they only built 2, and that was to basically keep OPEC in check. So that's how synthetic oil actually came into being. So it's actually produced and made to be as much like regular oil as possible.
So, 2 questions. We change our oil, how often?
Change oil every 3,000 miles.
Okay. And so we can have both, we can have synthetic mix, we can have conventional synthetic, whatever, as long as it's the same brand, same mix.
Now, if you're using like a Mobile One synthetic, you know, you can switch to, say, and especially if you didn't buy your car brand new, you know, you can switch back to a valve-length synthetic blend and just stick with that from now on, and you'll be fine. You know, it'll slow down on the leaks and stuff like that. So that'll really help. Did you have a question?
What if you do like want to change like a brand? Like if you ever choose, hey, I want to change my oil, like let me try this instead. Like what would you have to do in order for that mixture not to mix?
There's nothing really you can do. It's gonna mix.
And that's bad, right?
Yeah, that's where you're mixing detergents. Like I said, I've never really, in the 30 years I've been doing this, and I can't tell you how many engines I've turned into, but I've never seen any one particular oil really better than another brand, as far as where it's concerned. None. So. Okay, let's talk about gas and octane rating. I bet you guys want to hear about this. How many people here, do you know what octane is? What does it refer to? Does anybody know? What do you think it refers to? No guesses?
The burning?
I'm sorry?
Like the burning of the fuel?
Exactly. It has to do with the flash point of the gas. Okay? Good job. It has to do with the flash point of the gas. A lot of people think it has to do with the cleanliness of the gas. Okay? Nothing to do with cleanliness. The flash point of the gas comes into play on compression ratio. Now think about this. Compression generates heat, right? So if you've got a cylinder compressing air and fuel. As it gets hotter, it's going to ignite at a certain point. Low octane gas ignites at a lower temperature than higher octane gas. Okay? So let's say you have a high compression ratio engine. If you put 87 octane in your gas on a high compression ratio, I'm talking about like your Porsches, Mercedes-Benz, high-end cars, stuff like that, Ferraris, things like that. And your car requires a 93, and you put in an 87 because you want to save, 15 cents on the gallon, right? What's going to happen is it's going to ignite. It's what we call pre-ignition, and it's going to cause a condition which we call piston slap. Okay, piston slap is basically as your piston's moving up, you want the spark plug to ignite over the top of the piston, a nice even burn to push that piston straight down. When it pre-ignites because of the low octane rating, it actually ignites on the side of the cylinder, pushing the fuel exploding this way. And what it does is it causes the piston to kind of push over on what they call the wrist pin. It's what pushes up and down. If we had a pin, I could draw it for you. But anyway, so as the piston's coming up, it's getting blown to the side, and the piston actually knocks the side of the cylinder wall. And that's called a knock, or a piston slap, okay? That's very bad for your car. It destroys engines, okay? So engineers are smart, and they know that not everybody's going to use the proper gas that they should for their vehicles, so how do we stop people from destroying their cars? Well, we put in what's called a knock sensor. Have you guys ever heard of that? Okay, sometimes your check engine light comes on and it says your knock sensor is bad. You might know where you don't, but it's a little sensor that they screw into the side of the block, and that does exactly what it says. It senses vibrations and knocks in the engine, senses those piston slaps. When it does that, it sends a signal to your computer, and the computer then retards your engine time, basically backs it off, so that it lowers your compression ratio. So what's happening is it doesn't knock, so it doesn't destroy your engine, but your car isn't going to respond as well, your gas mileage is going to go down, and you're just going to think it's just the car getting old. And it's not that at all. Yes, ma'am.
So something like, say, a Honda Fit, something little, it's a foreign car, not made in Japan,
All right.
but I use 89 bucks.
That's probably right for that car.
It's an Android.
I'm sorry?
It's an Android, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. But yeah, that's probably right. Now, if you want to check your octane rating and you don't have your owner's manual, you can always look it up online. There's plenty of sources online that if you just look up octane rating for my vehicle, put your year, make, and model in, it will tell you what the octane rating for your car is required. Now, what happens though is now the engine, every time you run it, isn't going to sense that knock and then fix itself, okay? It does what's called a rolling average, okay? Something that's called I'm going to give you a technical term, adaptive fuel arm, okay? Or fuel trim. And basically what happens is you've got a short-term fuel trim, you've got a long-term fuel trim, or short-term adaptive one, long-term adaptive one. So basically your car is reading your adaptive fuel, reading how much fuel it's taking to run. It's talking about they call it adaptive fuel trim because it not only takes into account how much fuel you're putting in, it takes into account how much air you're putting in, it takes into account the knocks it's getting, the vibration from the piston slap and all this stuff. And it takes a rolling average of these readings. And then it keeps your car retarded. So it's retarding the engine time to prevent knocks. It's going to keep it there. So the next time you go to start it, you're going to start up and it's going to stay already retarded because it thinks you're using bad gas. So usually when you go back, if you've been using bad gas and you go back to using the proper gas, it's going to take it a little while for it to realize that you're using 1 or 2 tanks full to realize that, hey, we're not using the bad gas anymore. We can start to work out and bring ourselves back up to things. But you don't notice that, when you're using the wrong gas, you're going to end up pushing on the gas just a little bit harder than you used to. But you're not going to notice it because it's your foot, you know what I mean? But your gas mileage will go down. We all want to be environmentally conscious, so the best thing to do is do that. So if let's just say for sake of numbers, you're using a 10-gallon tank, and it costs you $30, so $3 a gallon, say, to fill up, right? And you want to use the 87 because you can save $1.50, okay? But if you're losing 30 miles to the tank, and your car gets 20-something miles to the gallon, you're losing 1.5 gallons of fuel. So you're really costing yourself $4.50, but you save $1.50, so you cost yourself $3. See what I mean? So it's really not advantageous for you to use the wrong gas. Now, that being said, if you use a gas that's higher than what your car's rated for, you're wasting your money. Okay, so some people think, well, I've got this car and I only put 93 in because I want the best. The best isn't helping you. Then you are wasting your money. So if your car calls for 87, use 87. If it calls for 89, use 89. The only thing I tell people is over the course of the life of the car, typically when about 100, 120,000 miles, as you're running, carbon builds up on the top of the pistons, okay? And the piston is inside the cylinder, and it's got a finite amount of volume area. as that carbon builds up, there's carbon, every time you burn gas, carbon falls down and builds up a layer of carbon on top of the piston, okay? Because fuel molecules, are carbon, basically turns back into carbon, so it builds up on the top of the piston. Now, it's not much if you actually look at it. It looks like a very, very small amount. But it's actually enough to decrease the volume area of the cylinder. And when you decrease the volume area of the cylinder, you increase the compression ratio. So as your car tends to wear out, you actually, people think that the compression goes down, and it actually does the opposite, it goes up. Now, as your compression goes up, you need to do what? Increase your octane, okay? Because if you're using 87, as your compression goes up, increases, you need to upgrade the octane to get the good gas mileage you'll get when the car was in. Does that make sense?
So when you have higher mileage, you want to go up on your
Exactly, you want to go up on your octane. So if you're using an 89 and you hit 100, 120,000 miles, I'd recommend going up to a 93. If you're using an 87, go up to an 89. And you'll find that your car will perform better, it'll last longer, it'll run better, it'll be happy, it'll like you better. These are cars, like I said, if you plan on keeping the car, for a long time, it'd save money. Mine's a 2005. I mean, I haven't got the first oil leak and it runs like a champ. I have no intention of selling it, because I didn't take care of my car for the last 10 years just to get rid of it now. I took care of it for 10 years so that I could keep it for longer, And, do you have a question?
Yeah. I got a 2009 Ford Taurus. So I'm only using 93 most of the time, so I should switch to 87.
I believe so, on Ford Taurus on that year model, I believe it is 87, but you might want to double check. Most foreign cars, like your Hondas and things like that, are 89. Most domestic cars, like your Fords and Chevys, are 87. Mine's a Dodge, which could be classified as a foreign car, but it's really kind of German owned, but mine's an 89, So just really take a look online just to be sure, they do change from year to year too.
And I always put 93 in there, and sometimes I feel like it burns faster. The gas just gets used up more.
It doesn't burn faster. It burns at the same rate. The only thing is, like I said, you're just wasting your money. If it doesn't need 93, you're just wasting your money, really. Okay, the other thing I was going to tell you about, since we're talking about it, has anybody ever tried, have you ever gone for an oil change or something, they say, oh, you need to have a fuel induction service, or you need to have your fuel injectors cleaned. You guys heard that?
Yeah.
Don't do that. It's a total ripoff, okay? It's a cash cow for the shops. Don't do it. Where that came from is back in the early 80s to mid-late 80s, they came out with throttle body injection. In other words, they had the injector sitting on top of the engine, which sprayed down into the throttle body and the engine. At that time, there's little particles. The fuel manufacturer was allowed to have so many parts per million of carbon in their fuel, which they didn't refine. Now, those could pass through the jets of the carburetor just fine, but when they started inventing throttle bodies, they got stuck in the pintles, the injectors. And so then people would have these, and the fuel pressure at that time only ran about 14 psi. Okay? So mechanics would have to go in with a high pressure canister on some cleaning fluid and actually hook up and blow that stuff out of the injector. Well, that made them a lot of money. It was like $100, $130 to do that. Well, then what happened was the injectors then got moved to the engine and the intakes, and the pressure on the fuel pump went up to about 60 psi, from 14 to 60 psi. Well, gas is a natural cleaner. I mean, when my hands get really greasy, I can stick in gas and just clean them really well. So the justification for doing throttle or fuel injection cleaning was because when your injector is exposed to the heat of the engine and you turn it off, the heat rises and it caramelizes the gas on the end of the injectors. This is their reasoning, okay? But they said that didn't need to be cleaned off. Well, my thinking is that, well, as soon as I start up a 60 psi injector with gasoline, it's going to clean off whatever's on the end of that injector anyway. I don't need some special chemical they're going to pour in my gas tank, which does absolutely nothing anyway to do it. So do not buy the fuel injection service. It does absolutely nothing for your car, okay? The only thing that has to be done is every now and then you want to get a throttle body clean. Okay, now I want to write that down, throttle body clean. Since they move the injectors, no longer go through a carburetor, they go directly into the cylinders. Throttle body is what allows airflow into your car. So it's got a little flapper valve that opens and closes when you step on the throttle, allows air in. Sometimes carbon will build up around that, and on the side of that's what they call the throttle position sensor. So it tells the computer how much you're stepping on the gas when you open it up. And the carbon will build up around there, fooling the throttle position sensor, thinking that you're getting gas when you're really not. But there's no more air coming in. So the fuel will tend to increase the fuel, but no more air, so it causes what's called a surging condition. You might one day, say you're driving along on a freeway and you come to, you exit the freeway and you come to a light, and your engine starts to surge, do this stuff. Sometimes it'll die in very bad cases. Most of the time I can fix that for $35. You know, it's just simply cleaning the throttle body with some brake cleaner on a rack. It's nothing that really is any cause for major concern. You have any questions about that?
How often and how do you know?
Well, typically the mechanic can look at it and tell. Now, if you ever, like I said, the first sign will be surging when you come. Usually when you come off the freeway and run and hit the light or stop sign or something like that, and you notice surging at idle. That's usually the first indicator. Then, if it's ignored, it kind of goes away. It'll start doing it more often. It'll usually start doing it every time you come to a stop, even if you're not on a freeway. You'll be driving along town, you come to a stoplight, doing that. So that's a good sign that just needs to be done. Like I say, a lot of things like that are difficult to do anymore.
What about this $3, $4 thing you add to fuel tank?
Don't it? Absolutely garbage. That's what I'm saying, snake oil. That's it. We actually joked around at the shop that we were going to sell some mineral spirits in a little bottle and call it the Latin word for snake oil or whatever it is, and sell it for $3. Because think about it, if you buy it, first of all, how are you going to know it works?
I know.
Unless you're sitting on a dyno and know exactly everything going on, you're not going to know. These things promise 5% increased horsepower, 7% increased horsepower, all that stuff. But you really don't know. And then even if it doesn't work, what do you do, sue them over $3? They don't care, but they're selling millions of this stuff, that's complete garbage. It's not going to hurt your car. It's not going to do anything to help it either, Most of it's just like mineral spirits or some kind of alcohol concoction or something that'll burn just fine, but not totally unnecessary. So don't waste your money. Okay. Yeah. Now my wife and I kind of made up a book, and basically I dictated to her, and she wrote it down in terms that she could understand. And we're actually in the process of getting that published and stuff. But one of the things we talk about is roadside emergencies and what to keep in your trunk. Some of this will work and some of it won't. But we talk about keeping flashlights. Now, spare drive belts. A lot of people don't think about this, but let's say you come to my shop and I say, Mr. Green, your drive belt's a little bit cracked. We need to replace it before it breaks. And you say, okay, John, now it's going to cost, and I'll give you a price, and you say, okay, fix it. Now, what do we do with your old belt? We just throw it away most of the time, right? If you say to me, hey, John, can I keep my old belt? I'll say, sure. And I'll put it up, and I'll fold it into the sleeve that the new belt came in. Throw that in your trunk. Just in case one day you're out driving around, and that belt breaks, you can call AAA, and they can come out and put that belt on your car. And you don't have to get towed anymore. You get that going, and you keep driving to the next place.
Is that different? 2 questions.
Uh-huh.
Is that different from the certified belt? And what is it and how do you, what?
Okay. Yes, it is a good question. It is not the serpentine belt. Well, it is. It is the serpentine belt. There's different belts. You got the serpentine belt, which is basically like a rib belt, just has like grooves in it that goes around the whole pulley. They call it serpentine because it looks like a snake wrapping around your neck. But then you got V belts. V belts are simply a different shaped belt that goes into a different kind of pulley. So they're all dry belts. When we say dry belts, we mean the rubber dry belts going around the engine that drives the water pump, and power steering, and air conditioning, and all that stuff. So now that being said, that when a belt does break, most of the reason that it breaks, sometimes it might break just because it's old and you didn't change it in time. And sometimes it breaks because a mouse got up there and chewed on it. I've seen that happen before. Somebody, they didn't know it. A mouse got in there and chewed the belt, and then it broke while they were driving. But most of the time, the reason the belt breaks is because something else caused it to break. Usually, there's a water pump pulley bad. There's a AC compressor that's locking up. Something else caused it. So when you get a belt that's broken, you can't always just assume that I can put this belt on and be good. Usually, something else caused it. But that's what you always want to find out: what caused the belt to come off. But like I said, in an emergency situation, if you're out somewhere at night, that can come in really handy if you need it. Like I said, you don't have to put it on, but definitely recommend getting AAA. And if nobody's ever known, have you ever noticed the number on the back of your license? Have you all? Okay, the roadside assistance. Okay, so if you had that belt, you could call roadside assistance out there, and that guy would come out there and put that belt back on your car, and you could be going.
So which belt do you need to?
Just whichever one you replace. Anytime you replace one, if the old one's still intact, keep it. Just keep it and toss it in your trunk. Just, you never know when you might need it.
Do they look at that sort of thing during inspection? Or
Yeah, typically during state inspections, no. Well, yes and no. They should, but not all of them do. Most of the time that gets looked at is during oil changes. Okay? Now I'll tell you another thing, a little trick, okay? A little secret. You know how you go to a dealer sometimes and they say, oh, you need this multi-point inspection, they might charge you $160 for it and stuff? Don't buy it. because they do that every time they change your oil. Because they're looking to upsell you on stuff. So they're gonna look at they're gonna look at your brakes, they're gonna look at your shocks, they're gonna look at your belts. If there's anything wrong, they're gonna tell you. Even sometimes when there's nothing wrong, they're gonna tell you. Okay? But, so don't pay for a multi-point inspection, because like I say, you get that free all the time anyway. Recommend carrying a gallon of antifreeze. Never, ever, ever, ever put water in your coolant system, okay? Not even once. If you do that, it will tear things up. It starts, once you introduce water in the system, it starts to rust and corrode your heater core, your inside your radiator, the fins, the impeller on your water pump. You know, it's just really bad for your car. So
But antifreeze itself has some water, right?
no, antifreeze has, well, it does, but it's a special, it's like a distilled water. It's not stuff you get out of the faucet. And that's what I'm talking about. Don't put stuff you get out of the faucet into it, okay? Because like I said, that will start to corrode the inside of your car, inside of your cooling system. I've seen a lot of damage caused by that. It just caused by people putting water in there. And I know it's easy, it's quick, it's convenient, but it does cause severe damage down in the long run. We recommend a jump box, and I actually meant to bring one with me, but I forgot because I was running late to get here. So, but we actually have these small, because I tell everybody, don't jump your car. Here's the reason. When you jump a car, the very minimum thing that's going to happen is you're going to warp the cells in your battery. Okay? Even if you got a brand new battery, within 6 to 9 months, you're going to need to jump yourself. Okay? The maximum thing you'll do is destroy computers. So let's say, for example, you even hook everything up right. You know, you go negative, negative, positive, positive, all that good stuff. But your friend's car is pushing out a 130 amp alternator system. You got a 90 amp alternator system. Okay? As soon as you start the cars up, he's pumping 130 amps into your system, and he's going to blow some computer possibly. You know, and I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen so many times. Had one guy just a couple of months ago had a nice 2008 Dodge Charger. He gave his buddy a jump, and next thing you know, his car wouldn't start. And what he ended up doing was he blew out what's called the wireless ignition node. It's basically cars are getting so fancy that his ignition switch was a computer. Okay, it's not like you stick a key in and turn one of those key fob ones, you know, but it's not really a key, but a little half key. And you put it in there and you turn it, and there's a computer in there that sends a signal to your main computer, and it's encoded and says, okay, and the computer says, okay, I got the signal, sends the encoded computer back to the ignition switch and says, is this signal right? The computer says, yeah, that's good, let's go ahead and start. And the computer says, okay, let's start. It happens really fast, but that's what happens. He blew that computer out, and 3 months on back order. His dad called me up, and he was a UNT student here, and his dad called me up, and his dad was old school, so he thought, well, can't you just bypass it? No, you can't. You can't bypass it, because the computer will not let that car start no matter what you do without getting that signal from that computer. So I was on back over from Dodge for 3 months, so he was without a car for 3 months because he gave somebody a jump.
So what do you do?
So we recommend using a jump box. Now, there's all kinds of them you can buy on the market. We have one at our store. It's about this big. It fits in your cup holder. You plug it in your cigarette lighter. You flip the switch. About 10 minutes later, you can start your car. Okay.
How much cost it?
It's $20. Yeah. Like I said, I meant to bring one to show you, and I forgot, but apologize for that. But it's called Mighty Jump. You can either come by a shop and get one, or you can find them online on Amazon.
What
it's
is
like
that?
Mighty Jump.
Mighty?
Mighty, M-I-G-H-T-Y. Like I said, they're really nice to have, because let's say you did close your door all the way, and so all night long your lights stayed on, your dome lights stayed on overnight, and you get up the next morning, you got to go to class, and guess what, your car doesn't start. You know what? Now you got to try to find somebody to give you a jump, or you got to wait for AAA, you got to wait for somebody to come in. So if you carry this around, it's like I say, you can fit in your cup holder, you can put it in your glove box, you put it wherever, just plug it in, flip the switch, and when you get your car started, flip the switch the other way, the car will actually charge the Mighty Jump back up, and you're good to go next time.
So it does the charge, it stays charged the next time. So when your car doesn't start, you can't use your car to charge the thing. So it's
No, that's what I mean, like when you first start your car, you know, just flip the switch the other way, and the car's alternator will charge the Mighty Jump back up.
and it stays charged.
Yeah, it
until-
stays charged.
Okay.
Yeah, until you need it again. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure if I heard right, but you said that you charge it by putting it onto the,
Cigarette lighter.
so you don't have to, do the whole.
Or the, I don't know if they
plugs?
call it cigarette lighter anymore, or cigar lighter, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, charging for it.
So to jumpstart the car, you don't have to put it like plus and negative thing?
Nope, you just plug it in your cigarette lighter. Yeah, that's all connected, all that stuff's connected to your car.
Cool.
So, yeah, so you don't have to open the hood, you don't have to do anything, you don't have to get your hands dirty or anything, you just plug it right in, so. But like I said, so you don't want to be that rude person either. If your friend comes and says, hey, can you give me a jump? My car is dead. You don't want to be that rude person who goes, no, I ain't giving you a jump, you know? When it's actually good not to, but you can have your money go, here, use this, you know? That'd be nice. So, but because you can cause serious damage. Like I said, most cars have anywhere from 12 to, I've seen as high as 64 computers in the car. So, I mean, they got computers that run your door, computers that run your seat, computers that run your air conditioning, whatever, everything's computerized nowadays. So be wary of that. Like I said, just some other things on here. We recommend taking a blanket in case your car breaks down. You're out in the middle of nowhere and it's cold. You know, you want to have something to kind of keep yourself warm and stuff like that.
Pantyhose really work?
They do. If you're out there and you don't have a dry belt, like a little dry belt like I showed you, if you've got pantyhose, you can wrap that around. Now, normally on a car, there's a little diagram that shows you the belt routing. Okay? Now, some people take it off, but on most cars, there's a little diagram that shows the belt routing. You can take those pantyhose, stretch them out, run it around there, and just tie it together. Now it'll get you down the road to this repair shop. Yeah, believe it or not. And an egg will fix a radiator leak. An egg. So if you're at a convenience store and they don't have stop leak, but you need to fix your radiator leak, grab an egg, you know? Break that thing open, put it in there. The heat from the radiator and the egg will find that hole and it will swell up and seal that hole. It's not a permanent fix, but it's something that'll get you down the road. Okay? It's a little trick. And if you guys like us on Facebook, on our Facebook page, we usually put out a Car Tip Tuesday, which kind of gives you good tips about, you know, things like this and stuff. So, we already talked about jumping here. I got a little ahead of myself here, but we talked about that a little bit. Why it's not a good idea to get somebody to jump. Okay, now some people freak out. I've had tons of calls. And they call, my check engine light's on. What do I do? You know, they're afraid their car's going to blow up, right? Typically, yellow light just means hey, it's okay. It's just a warning light. Get it checked out when you can. Red light means yeah, you probably need to pull over now and let's evaluate it. You know. But if the check engine light comes on, there's a little yellow amber light, service engine soon light, looks like a motor, and those things. And the car's running okay, most likely it's just going to be an emissions code. Those emission codes are pesky. But as long as the car's running okay, just keep going, don't panic, just get to a shop when you can, you know, get it checked out. So don't panic or anything. If the oil light comes on, pull over. I can't tell you how many people have come to me with blown up engines because well, I saw the oil light come on. I just drove a little further. Well, how far did you drive? About 20 miles. You know, well, that's why you need a motor now. You know, or the temperature light got hot. You know, well, I figured it would cool down if I went faster. You know, so here's a little tip: if your temperature does start to rise up, turn your heater on. Okay, your heater actually acts like a mini radiator, and it actually the radiator goes through a thermostat, or through a thermostat, and then the cold goes through a thermostat, and then through the radiator, and then back in the engine. If the thermostat gets stuck, your temperature starts going up. The heater core runs through the system without the thermostat, so it's constantly running. So if you turn your heater on and crank it up at high, you can actually help cool your engine down through your heater core. So you still want to get somewhere where you can get it pull off safely, you know, and get it checked out. But it can maybe get you down the road a little further if you do that. Just make sure your temperature comes down, not going up.
With the oil light, you don't mean like the change oil light that comes on?
No, not the service oil light. Yeah, the red oil light looks like some little red oil can, or it says, you know, just somebody says red oil, you know, stuff like that. Usually the maintenance light is amber one, is yellow one most times. So like I said, amber means just get checked out soon, red means stop. So, yes, sir.
What does the yellow ABS?
And that just means ABS lights are analog brake systems. Basically, most of y'all probably too young to know, but cars used to not have ABS. Okay, they used to go straight brakes. Then ABS came around because they used to teach us when we got a driver's license, if you get into a slide, you pump your brakes. Well, some genius engineer came up with the ABS system, which actually pumps your brakes for you. So if you get into a slide, it's going to start pumping your brakes to help you stop faster. And it actually does make you stop faster because the slide, you just keep going, stopping, getting that traction that helps you stop. So the ABS light comes on. What that means is, it means you still have brakes. You're not going to lose your brakes, okay? So don't get panicky on that. But what it means is that if you get into a slide, it's not going to do the shape. Okay? Usually what that means is that there's a sensor bad, maybe one of the wheel speed sensors isn't proper. You got a sensor on each wheel and you detects. The way that the system knows if you're going into a slide is it can tell which wheels are locking up compared to the other ones. So if it senses this wheel's locking up, then it's going to activate the ABS. Keep sliding. But if that light's on, it means the system's not working. It doesn't mean you don't have brakes, it just means it's not working. So the next time you go to brake, it's gonna stop like a normal car, but if you get into a slide, it's not gonna happen.
What about TCS?
I'm sorry?
TCS?
Traction control light, it's basically on the same system. They use the wheel speed sensors also, so instead of braking though, when you're on the brake, it's on when you're on the accelerator, and it's feeling the tire spin. Like the back wheel is staying steady, your front wheel starts spinning, and it knows you're on the accelerator because it's got a sensor on the accelerator. So then it's gonna slow your engine down and the transmission down to where it tries to grab instead of stopping. So, makes sense? But they work off the same sensor, so a lot of times when your ABS light comes on, your traction control light will come on also, especially if it's a wheel speed sensor. All right, we're gonna talk a little bit about how to buy a used car, okay? A lot of people, here's what thing you need to know about buying a used car. You want to get a used car inspected by a mechanic, right? But here's the problem. Some mechanic shops charge upwards of $100 to do a used car inspection, right? Well, if they tell you the car you're looking at is no good, then you just spend $100.
We have to go back.
Yeah. So at our shop, we typically will charge $35. If we get to know you and you're a regular customer of ours, we don't charge at all, because we don't want to be used, So, but typically we do it at $35. But it's a good thing. But before you go to a mechanic, there's a few things you can do, okay? And you guys might want to take notes on this here. It's actually going to be in my book. But first thing you can do, I really wish you had a whiteboard. Okay. But first thing you do is take a walk around the car. Okay, just walk around the car and look at the body lines. And when I say the body lines, I mean lines where the doors and the fenders come together, where the front and back doors come together, where the hood comes down on the fenders. You know what I'm talking about? Those little gaps, air gaps? Those are little body lines. They should be straight and perfect, okay, all the way around the car. If you see one that's wider on one side and narrow on the other side, the car's been wrecked. If you see them like getting small at the bottom and wide at the top, the car is basically bowed, okay? If you see it going the other way, the car has been beat, maybe somebody jumped something and hit it and bent the frame. So those are good indicators of frame damage and crash damage. So you want to doesn't necessarily condemn a car if you see that, because a lot of cars have been in collisions and the fender was hit or something like that, but it's a good thing just to kind of check out. So if you look at it and you see a lot of that going on, then it's going to start raising red flags, okay? If you see just maybe one spot, you can say, okay, probably had its fender replaced, so not a big deal. Yes, sir?
Do you co-sign or don't co-sign buying cars at auction? At car auction?
What do you mean co-sign?
Do you think it's a good idea or bad idea?
No. I mean, if you're going to buy a car at an auction, you're talking about?
Yeah.
You really got to know what you're doing. You really got to know, because you can get yourself into a world of hurt if you don't know what you're doing. You can buy something that somebody's having a lot of problems with and just trying to unload it, and they'll make it look pretty and they'll do things to it to make it sound good and everything else. But you really got to know what you're doing to do that. So I don't recommend it if you're a novice, not at all. There are some auctions, like I said, where you can buy cars that still have warranty and stuff like that, but you're going to pay pretty good money for them, But go on the auction and try to find a cheap car, I'd stay away from it. And I would never buy a car from anybody that I couldn't go back to their house and say, look, you sold me one. So don't buy one from somebody, and that's not it. If you buy a car from somebody in another state, remember, if it's a no good car and you want to sue them, you have to sue them in the venue that they're in, which means you got to go to their state and sue them. You can't sue them from here, okay? So keep that in mind.
What is the floor of the bearings?
What's that?
What is the bad motor?
Okay, this is called floating bearings. That's what I'm talking about. So you've walked around, you've checked the car out, and it looks good so far, okay? Then you get back in the car, and you want to know if there's anything wrong with the engine, okay? What we call floating the bearings is sometimes people will put oil additive in the oil to cover up a rod knock. And what I mean by rod knock is there's these bearings on the piston rod. As the crank's turning, there's a rod that connects the piston to the crank, okay? And it pushes that piston up and down the cylinder, the fire, and that piston turns the crank. Well, those bearings can go bad, and they'll start to make a tick, 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 tick sound, or knock, 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 knock sound in the car. Well, if you there's some stuff out there, one particular called Lucas additive. It's an oil thickener. And they'll put that stuff in there to make the oil real thick and basically cover up the knock. So you may not hear it. But if you do this trick, no amount of covering it up will hide this. Okay, so what you do is you sit in the car, you open the door, you put the car into gear, or in the neutral, okay? And you rev it up between, well, you can put it in park too, I guess. I'm thinking clutch. So anyway, So you put it in park or neutral, and you rev up the engine to be in between 2,500 and 3,000 RPM, and you balance it. Like that, go 3,000, 25, 3,000, 25. And if you hear what sounds like a penny rattling around in a can, that engine's bad. Okay, walk away from it right then. Does that make sense? So these are things, like I said, you can do before you ever take it to a mechanic to get it inspected. So let's say you walked it, you've checked it now, and you can check the engine, all that's passing, so you're all right, good, we're good so far, right? Pull the seat belts all the way out. All the way out. You know why? Flood damage. Okay? Especially since we're close to Louisiana, a lot of flood damaged cars make their way up here. If you pull, most people when they're cleaning flood cars, they always forget the last end of the seat belt. Okay? Because nobody ever pulls the seat belt all the way out, right? So pull that seat belt all the way out and look for any kind of dirt, mud, things that might look like a flood car. Okay? You can also look underneath the seat. Look under the seat to see if the seat frame has a lot of rust on it. Okay? If the seat frame's got a lot of rust on it, that car's probably been underwater. I mean, they do a good job cleaning them up. So, and flood cars will show damage down the road that you don't even know is happening yet, because they'll get into everything. It'll rust out connectors, it'll rust out parts that you just can't see at the moment.
So if a car flooded, it's no good?
No, not a flooded car. Flooded car means the car's, the gas fuel flooded. I'm talking about if the car's been in a flood.
Okay.
Like in Louisiana when Hurricane Katrina hit and stuff, a lot of those cars got flood damage. And a lot of them made their way up here, because I was finding a lot of them. They were trying to sell it, because they can't sell them down there, because everybody knows to look for a flood car down there. But they come up here, nobody expects us to find a flood car up here, right? So they can bring them up here and sell. But gotta be real careful with that, so watch for flood damage cars. Transmissions, what I typically do is I find a nice straight place to run about 500 yards or so, and I get into the car, I put it in gear and reverse, and make sure that there's nobody behind you. And I step on it if I feel any shuddering at all. Not for a long distance, just like real quick, boom, straight back and hit the brake. If you feel any shudder, then it's no good. Then I put it dry. If everything passes out, I put it dry. And I drive that 500 meters. I step on the gas and I go as fast as I can. Try to shift through all 4 gears. And so if I don't feel any shuddering or any jerking when I'm going through there, then it's okay. Now that's not something you want to do. You can bring it to a mechanic and check out if you don't feel safe doing that. But make sure you're in a good, safe area to do that. So anyway, that's kind of one way. And you also want to be able to, like I say, just walking around the vehicle, you can kind of check those things out. And if it passes those kinds of things, then you can bring it to a mechanic and pay $35 to have them check other things out. And I get into a few more things in the book that's a little more detailed on how to do that stuff. But I think it's enough for now. And like I said, don't trust the seller's word. People will tell you whatever they want to tell you to get that car sold. Okay, and I can't tell you how many people that have come to me and they say, well, he told me this was done. He lied. Really? Yeah. He lied to you. So be careful of that. And like I said, don't be afraid to walk away. If the deal sounds too good to be true, probably is. There's usually something else going on there. Because I know there's people that are really desperate to get rid of a car because there's a problem. And they may know that there's a problem coming up. In fact, I had a guy just the other day with a diesel. For example, he has a diesel truck, and he got a really good deal on it, so he thought, until he found out he had to have $7,000 worth of fuel injection work done, because the high-pressure fuel pump started coming apart and broke up metal and got into the injection. But the guy who sold it to him, I guarantee knew that. Guarantee it, because he only had the car for 2 months when he started having a problem, but knew that. So that guy sold it and got out of a $7,000 repair. Okay, now, this is the main thing we're going to listen to. When you go to a mechanic shop, okay, we talked about you don't know what to ask, okay, here's what you're going to ask. You're going to ask the guy, what's your labor rate? Does anybody not know what that means? Anybody know? Okay, labor rate is what I charge for the job. When I estimate a car, like I take your car, say this is 99 Toyota Camry, it needs a water pump. I've got a labor guide that says, I look up and I put in 99 Toyota Camry. And it tells me how long a water pump should take. This is how I write estimates. This is the only way I can write estimates. The people who make these books not only take into account the actual work. So let's say you come in and I tell you it's going to be 2 hours to replace your water pump, but I come back to you in an hour and I say, okay, it's ready, right? And you're going to say, well, why are you charging me 2 hours? Well, for one, this is what the labor guide says. And two, that labor guide encompasses me checking your car out, encompasses me putting your car on the rack, encompasses me test driving your car after work's done, encompasses me writing up the order, calling for the parts, doing all that stuff. That's what that 2 hours is for. It's not just for the work at hand. It's for all the work I spend. And the other reason is because I'm a 30-year mechanic, I can do things a lot faster than people have done it 100 times. You know, so, but the same thing goes the other way. If it tells me it's 2 hours on a water pump, I can't charge it 3. If it takes me 3, I can't charge it 3. So, see what I'm saying? So I tell you, yeah, it's a 2 hour job, but it took me 3 hours. I don't come to you and say, hey, look, it took me 3 hours, you know, so I'm going to charge you another hour. That wouldn't make me very happy, would it? You know, so in order for us to both work together, we have to have some kind of guide that we mutually agree on, that this is what it takes. If I get done faster than that, good for me because I spent a lot of years doing it. I've got 40 grand worth of tools and I can do that. You know, great. If it takes me longer, that's on me. That's not your fault, you know. So you're not going to pay for that. And so you've got labor rates. So let's say labor rate. So here's the thing. Let's say a dealership has a has a $110 an hour labor rate. My shop has a $70 labor rate, right? But here's the thing. If you come to me, and she comes to me with a water pump, and I say it's going to be 2 hours, that's $140. She go to the dealership tells her an hour. So who's cheaper? Right? So that's what you got to know. So not only do you want to know what the labor rate is, you want to know how much time are you charging for that job. You know? So you can call around to somebody else and say, hey, I got a 99 Camry, how much time would you charge me to change a water pump? You know? So if they're in line with 2 hours, but their labor rate's $110, you know, obviously you can go here. The other thing you're going to watch, how much you charge for the parts, okay? Now, is it true that they mark up parts? Yes, we have to, okay? I can't do business if I don't mark up my parts. I've got my money out there. There's constant overflow. I've got to be able to pay my guys. We can't make it all on labor. It's impossible. There's a lot of expenses involved with the shop. There's garage liability insurance. There's stock supplies that you all sometimes don't even see. There's tool expenses, you know. $4,500 AC machine I had to buy, you know, stuff like that. So the only way I can pay for that is I've got to charge for parts. So some of that goes in that. But the other thing that goes into your markup on parts is that you're going to get a warranty from me. Okay? So if in the next 12 months anything happens to that part, I'm going to replace it completely for free for you guys. It's not going to cost you a dime. Now some parts have a lifetime warranty on them. So let's say you come to me and you have a brake job done. And your brake pads have a lifetime warranty. So say in 3 years you come back to me and say, hey John, my brakes are out again. I say, okay. I'm going to look up your history. I'm going to see that we replaced your brake pads, and I'm going to say, okay, you're going to pay for the labor, but the pads are going to be free because I'm going to warranty those out for you. Okay? So that's kind of thing. That's a good thing for why you keep going back to the same place too, because they keep records of everything they've done.
Do shops hate when you bring your own parts?
Some do. I don't. Okay, but the way I do it is, if you bring your own parts, I'm absolutely fine with that, but I'm not going to warranty it. Now you say, oh well, the parts place has a warranty. Well, sure they do, but they're not warranting my labor. They're just warranting their part. So if I put on your alternator that you brought to me, and it's bad, guess what? You're going to pay me to do it again. Okay, so you know, so if you want an alternator to work, you know, so it's kind of an insurance thing too. Because if I put the alternator on, and believe me, it happens more often than not that I get a brand new part or remanufactured part from the parts store, and it's bad. That happens so many times, and I'm doing the job twice. And that's part of what the markup's for, to help cover those instances and stuff like that. So the markup goes into a lot of things. Now, how much we mark up is completely at the discretion of the shop owner, which I think we're more than fair than compared to the other shops, because we've done surveys and we know that's what we're called bare bones. We keep everything as cheap as possible, but we still have to exist and live to provide the service. But anyway, so yeah, I tell a thing I like to say to a lot of people is like, you know, look, I can go to Kroger and get an egg for 25 cents, but I go to IHOP and they charge me $9 for an omelet. You know, it's the same thing. You know, yeah, I understand. We're going to put it together. We're going to add value to it. That's why the market. We're adding value by covering your warranty, by getting everything done, for you professionally. And the other thing is, the other reason shops don't like for people to bring home parts is because 7 out of 10 times, well, 3 out of 10 times, I should say, the part you bring is going to be wrong. Now your car's on my rack tying up my time because I've got to figure out, hey, are you going to swap this part out or do I have to get it now? You know, and so that creates a lot of time problems. Like I said, when I've got a rack that's just sitting there, it's not making money, and that's a problem. You know, because it could sit there for 2 hours while we're trying to figure out the part situation. You know, so a lot of times what we'll do is if you want to bring your own parts, that's fine. But sometimes we may add 20% markup to the labor, or something like that, just to cover those instances where the part's wrong. Okay. Anyway, I'm getting the time goes. So anyway, so we got the parts, asked about the warranty, and that's a warranty cover label. So you always try that. One last thing I'll mention is that there are some companies out there that provide a 3-year warranty. Be careful about them, because after the first year, they'll do a 50% proration, and they charge you out the nose the first time. They'll probably charge you two times what the job's actually worth. They'll promise you a 3-year warranty, but they don't tell you after the first year it's a 50% proration, and then it drops dramatically after that. So be careful of those things. And that's it, I guess. So any questions? Yes.
What if I move from Denton?
If you move from Denton?
If I get dropped out of the shop and move from Denton, have to come back all the way here?
Well, no, I mean, sometimes that's what happens, but you just do your research, find a good shop, make sure they're ASC certified, and look, check them out, review them, and see if they've got good reviews on Facebook, they got good reviews on Yelp, just find if they're a reputable shop, things like that. But most important, make sure they got ASC certifications. Corporate stores are really bad about pushing for, like your Firestones, your NTBs, things like that. The corporate office pushes them hard to make huge profits. So I really recommend staying away from those places. So, any other questions? Yes, sir.
How do you set the price if you wanna sell a used car?
That, you gotta go through Kelly Blue. I just usually go through kbb.com.
Just like an average price?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the car. You gotta kind of judge that on yourself, stuff like that. So, see what condition.